Hare Krishna. We continue reading from the book Beyond Birth and Death by Srila Prabhupada. We are on chapter 3. An intelligent person knows that he does not want miseries, but they are inflicted upon him by force. As stated before, we are always in a miserable condition due to this mind, body, natural disturbances, or other living entities. There's always some kind of misery inflicted upon us. This material world is meant for misery. Unless the misery is there, we cannot come to Krishna consciousness. You can see we don't want miseries, but it still comes uninvited. Uninvited, it will come, something or the other. At every point, or at every moment, we are inflicted by misery, either due to our own mind and body, natural calamities, or other living entities.
Said
So,
Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, right? And
yeah,
Adi Devi. Oh,
that's right. That's right. Miseries are actually an impetus and help to elevate us to Krishna consciousness. Till the time if when we are happy, we forget Krishna. Who's Krishna? I'm happy here. Then something happens. Oh God, please help me. Please help me. I'm not able to do this. Please help me. It's natural for everyone. You know, we will turn to God when we are in suffering. If someone does not even believe in God, they will say, I'm turning to the universe or to the higher power or to the energy, something. Someone. It's a natural instinct in us. An intelligent man questions why these miseries are inflicted on him by force. However, modern civilization's attitude is let me suffer. Let me cover it by some intoxication, that's all. But as soon as the intoxication is over, the miseries return. It is not possible to make a solution to the miseries of life by artificial intoxication. The solution is made by Krishna consciousness. So we may cover up that, oh, there's no misery. Let me do this and I'll forget my misery. We'll forget it. Yes, of course, we forget it for some time. But after, again, it comes back. Again, it comes back. So we are not actually solving our misery. We're just delaying it or distracting ourselves for it for a short time. One may point out that although the devotees of Krishna are trying to enter Krishna's planet, everyone else is interested in going to the moon. Isn't going to the moon also perfection? The tendency to travel to other planets is always present in the living entity. One name for the living entity is Sarvagata, which means one who wants to travel everywhere. Travel is a part of the nature of the living entity. The desire to go to the moon is not a new thing. The yogis are also interested in entering the higher planets. But in the Bhagavad Gita 8:16, Krishna points out that this will not be of any help. So Sarvagata, Prabhupada is explaining that it's in our nature to travel. Let me go see here, let me go to a new place, let me see what's happening there. So it's a natural part. Travel is a part of the nature of the living entity. So desire to go to the moon. Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartino arjuna mam upaitya tu kaunteya punar janmana vidyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So Krishna is saying, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka. Abrahma, that from the highest planet, the highest planet is Brahmalok in this material world, down to the lowest, you know, or what the lowest hellish planet. All are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. Now, one may say, but heavenly planets, there's so much more enjoyment. People are living there for 10,000 years. We just heard there is heavenly trees and they are so much more beautiful. But yet, even if we go to the heavenly planets, For example, the demigods are also afraid. Indra is afraid his kingdom will be taken over. The demons are going to come and attack him. So there is anxiety, there is fear, there is death. Even Lord Brahma has to die. So birth and death is there. But one who attains to my abode, a son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Krishna is saying this. Krishna says one who comes to Krishna Lok does not have to come back to the material world, to this world of birth and death. Goes to the spiritual world. The universe is divided into higher, middle, and lower planetary systems. The Earth is considered to be a member of the middle planetary system. So, higher, middle, and lower. And the earthly planets, we are in the middle. Their lower is the hellish planets, higher are the uh, heavenly planets. Krishna points out that even if one enters into the highest planet of all, called Brahmaloka, there is still repetition of birth and death. Other planets in the universe are full of living entities. We should not think that we are here and that all other planets are vacant. From experience, we can see that no place on earth is vacant of living entities. If we dig deep down into the earth, we find worms. If we go deep into the water, we find aquatics. If we go into the sky, we find so many birds. How is it possible to conclude that other planets have no living entities? So this is a point for us to understand, because we may think that, oh, there's life only on this planet Earth and that there is no life on other planets. But no, there's life everywhere. As Prabhupada is explaining to us, even on this earth, if you go deep inside the earth, there's worms. In the ocean, we'll find all these sea creatures are there. In the sky, there are the birds. Everywhere there is living entities. So even on the sun planet, there is living entities there. They have suitable bodies to live on the sun planet. But Krishna points out that even if we enter into those planets where great demigods reside, we will still be subjected to death. Again, Krishna repeats that upon reaching his planet, one need not take birth again. So even if we go up to higher planets, we will still be in that samsara, the cycle of birth and death. Only when we go to the spiritual world can we get out of this cycle of birth and death. We should be very serious about attaining our eternal life, full of bliss and knowledge. We have forgotten that this is actually our aim of life, our real self-interest. The swarth, what is that? It's not that being selfish, no, but self-interest. What is our self-interest? To understand who we are. Who am I? Who is God? What's my relationship with God? How can I be situated in that relationship? Why have we forgotten? We have simply been entrapped by the material glitter, by skyscrapers, big factories, and political play. Although we know that however big we build skyscrapers, we will not be able to live here indefinitely. During the day we get so engrossed in certain thing, we take up a an idea or we make so many goals during the day, we work so hard for them, but when we sleep, everything is forgotten. So similarly at death, everything will be forgotten, and then we are in a new situation, and then in the new situation we put so much endeavor, so much hard work. It's not that we should not work hard. Of course, we need to. Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita that you have to do your duty, act according to your nature. But he says, you do it for me. Always think of me. That's the part we forget. There's no harm in anything else. That okay, we of course we have to work, we work according to our nature, we have to do our duties, but we forget to think of Krishna. We forget to offer the results of our activities to Krishna. We should not spoil our energy in building mighty industries and cities to further entrap ourselves in material nature. Rather, our energy should be used to develop Krishna consciousness in order to attain a spiritual body whereby we may enter into Krishna's planet. So, one thing is sure, as soon as we give up this body, we have to take up another body. Now, that body can be material or spiritual. The choice is ours. If we want a material body, then we need to act in a certain way. If we want to have a spiritual body, then we have to act in a certain way. Krishna, and when we have a spiritual body, then we can go to Golok Vrindavan, to Krishna's planet, or to any other planet in the spiritual sky. Krishna consciousness is not a religious formula or some spiritual recreation. It is the most important part of the living entity. Yeah, it's not that it's just some, we take up a hobby for some time. It's not like that. Every soul is originally Krishna conscious. That is who we are. That is we are, each and every one of us is part and parcel of Krishna. Are there any questions till what we have read? No,
It's
then
quite,
we,
it's quite
yes.
clear. Yeah, it's quite
Yeah.
clear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, chapter 4, the sky beyond the universe. If even the higher planets in this universe are subject to birth and death, why do great yogis strive for elevation to them? Although they may have many mystic powers, these yogis still have the tendency to want to enjoy the facilities of material life. So the yogis, they understand Brahma Bhavana Loka, that this uh, world is a place of misery. No matter which planet we go to, there is going to be birth and death. Now, why is the yogi wanting to go to a higher planet? Why? Because we have this desire. I want to enjoy material nature. I want to enjoy this material world. On the higher planets, it is possible to live for incredibly long lifetimes. The time calculation on these planets is indicated by Sri Krishna. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmano Viduhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Teho Ratra Vido Janaha. A human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together, is the duration of Brahma's one day. And such also is the duration of his night. Gita 8:17. So how do we know that Lord Brahma, his one day has this 1,000 Chaturyugas? Satyug, Dwapar Yug, Treta Yug, Kali Yug. Krishna is saying this in the Bhagavad Gita, saying that there are 1,000 ages are coming in duration of Brahma's one day. So his 12 hours is this 1,000 Chaturyugas, and his night is another 1,000 Chaturyugas. One yuga covers 4,300,000 years. This number multiplied by 1,000 is calculated to be 12 hours of Brahma on the planet Brahmalok. So one yuga, well, Prabhupada is saying, combined together, the Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, and Kalyug is about 4.3 million years. Now you multiply it by 1,000 because they're going to come 1,000 times. And this is only 12 hours of Brahma. Similarly, another 12-hour period covers the night. So 12 hours, 12 hours, that's his one day. Now he has 30 days in 1 month, and he has 12 months in a year. And Brahma lives for 100 such years. Life on such a planet is indeed long. Yet, even after trillions of years, the inhabitants of Brahmalok have to face death. Unless we go to the spiritual planets, there is no escape from death. So such a long life he is living. I think 311 trillion years or something. Brahmaji lives according to our human calculation. But he still has to die after that time. Like for example, an ant might say, wow, a human being has such a long life. Such a long life. But we human beings, we are like, oh, where did my time go? How did the time fly by? I'm already now at this point in my life. So time is relative here in the material world. Although for us, like, oh, Brahmaji is living for so long, but for him, it's just 100 years for him. Time is going slower there. And we can see, evident in this earth also, as we just said, a ant or a dog. A dog will live its full life. And it has its own lifespan in that they grow, they're born, they grow, they reproduce, then they dwindle and they die. Or the germs, they'll barely live for a few minutes according to our calculation. But they're completing their whole life in there. Avyaktad vyaktaha sarva prabhavanti ahar agame ratri agame praliyante tatre va vyakta samchnake. When Brahma's days manifest, this multitude of living entities comes into being, and at the arrival of Brahma's night, they are annihilated. Gita 8:18. At the end of the day of Brahma, all the lower planetary systems are covered with water, and the beings on them are annihilated. So in the night, when Brahma has to sleep, the lower planetary systems up to Swargalok, they're all inundated. They're all devastated. All the living entities on these planets, they're going back into the body of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Then, after this devastation and after the night of Brahma passes, in the morning when Brahma arises, there's again creation, and all these beings come forth. This subjection to creation and destruction is the nature of the material world. So that's how this material world is. It's created, it's destroyed, it's created, it's destroyed. Bhuta grama sa evayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratri agame avasya partha prabhavati ahar agame. Again and again the day comes, and this host of beings is active, and again the night falls apart, and they are helplessly dissolved. Gita 8:19. So it's like a cycle. Creation, dissolution, creation, dissolution. It's happening, it's happening. Krishna is saying it's the nature of the material world, and helplessly we cannot say, no, stop, I don't want the dissolution to happen. I don't want to leave this body or this planet. We can't. We are helplessly in this situation. Although the living entities do not like devastation, that devastation will come and overflood the planets until all living beings on the planets stay merged in water throughout the night of Brahma. But as the day comes, the water gradually disappears. Okay, here Prabhupada is saying it's everything, all the living entities are also in the water. Okay, so then, and when it's time, Brahmaji wakes up in the morning, again, the water disappears, again he starts creation. Parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyakta sanatanaha yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. Yet there is another nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Gita 8:20. So Krishna is saying the nature of this material world is temporary. It's created and it is destroyed. But there is another nature, the spiritual nature, which is eternal. Spiritual is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. You see, matter sometimes is manifested, sometimes is unmanifested. Sometimes this material world is created, sometimes it's destroyed, but not the spiritual world. Spiritual world is never destroyed. It's eternal. It's spiritual. Anything spiritual can never be destroyed. So when all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So here this creation, destruction is happening, but the spiritual world, it's always there. We cannot calculate the extent of the material universe, but we have Vedic information that there are millions of universes within the entire creation. And beyond these material universes, there is another sky, which is spiritual. So just as here, when we look up, we see the material sky, and the planets are there floating in this material sky. Similarly, in the spiritual world, there is a spiritual sky, and in the spiritual sky are floating the spiritual planets. So there, all the planets are eternal, and the lives of all the beings on them are eternal. As Krishna is giving the description that here in this material world, the planets are created and destroyed, there is birth and death, no matter which planet you go to the highest planet of Brahmaji and live there for trillions of years, you still have to die. Now, the planet in the spiritual world is eternal, it's never destroyed. And so the souls, the living beings, on the spiritual planets are also eternal. They never have to take birth and die and old age and disease. Eternal. In this words, the word bhava means nature, and here another nature is indicated. In this world, we have experience also of two natures. The living entity is spirit, and as long as he is within matter, matter is moving. As soon as the living entity, the spiritual spark, is out of the body is immovable. Srila Prabhupada would also give another example. He would say, we make a nice aeroplane, very powerful aeroplane, but the pilot has to get into it to fly the aeroplane. We may say we are going autopilot. Again, there's somebody who's making this autopilot system. There is a living entity. The machine cannot create by itself. Matter cannot create by itself. Always a living entity is there. Similarly, in this body of ours, which is appearing to be alive, we, the soul, the living entity, is there. And as soon as the living entity is out, the body cannot move. The car will drive till the time we are there inside the car. When we stop the car, get out of the car stays there. It's not that after in the night when we park the car, then in the morning we have to go look for it. Oh my God, where did the car go away? Unless someone took it. But that's different. The car can't go by itself. It's immovable. The spiritual nature is called Krishna's superior nature, and the material is called the inferior. Why is the spiritual nature superior and material inferior? Anyone? The material is inferior and superior is spiritual because spiritual is conscious. We, the living entities, we are conscious. Material nature is not conscious. So it is not possible to understand this by experimental knowledge. We can see millions and millions of stars through a telescope, but we cannot approach them. We have to understand our incapabilities. If we cannot understand the material universe by experimental knowledge, what is the possibility of understanding God and His kingdom? It is not possible experimentally. We like to do experiments and then we say, I'm going to experiment this and only then I'm going to believe or accept something. But then if we had to do that, even this material world, we can't finish it. We cannot even understand it by doing all the experiments by ourselves. So how can we understand God? How can we understand Him, the one who is beyond our material senses? We have to understand by hearing the Bhagavad Gita. We cannot understand who our Father is by experimental knowledge. We have to hear the word of our mother and believe her. If we do not believe her, there is no way of knowing. Prabhupada would give the example. The Vedas are the mother. They are all telling us Krishna is the father. So we simply have to accept. Like when we accept, our mother says, oh, here, this is your father. We accept. Prabhupada would say, we are not going to every man in this world. asking, are you my father? Are you my father? Are you my father? And even our whole life, we may do this research work and we'll die even without knowing who's our father. Because we cannot possibly ask everyone. And someone may lie, someone may cheat, So how? We can easily just ask our mother, my dear mother, who's my father. So similarly, if we just stick to the Krishna conscious method, all information about Krishna and his kingdom will be revealed. The Vedas are telling us, Vedascha sarver aham eva vedya. Krishna is saying, by all the Vedas, I'm to be known. He says that in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15. So we simply hear. Even for any modern knowledge also, we are accepting, we are hearing from authority. We are accepting what the teachers are telling us. It could be any material, uh, any knowledge in the material sphere also. We are accepting authority. Similarly, for spiritual knowledge also, you have to accept authority. Okay. Parastu bhava means superior nature, and vyakta refers to what we see manifested. We can see that the material universe is manifested through the earth, sun, stars, and planets. And beyond this universe is another nature, an eternal nature. So in this universe, we can understand that we have sun, we have moon, we have planets, we have stars, we have all this in this material world. And beyond this material world is the spiritual world. Avyaktat sanatanaha. This material nature has a beginning and an end, but that spiritual nature is sanatanaha, eternal. It has neither beginning nor end. How is it possible? So the spiritual world, material world has, in our experience, anything material, we have a manufacture date and an expiry date, a birth date and a death date. That's in the material world. That's the nature of the material world. Everything, even if the baby is just 1 day born or 1 day old, baby is 1 day old, baby is just born. But yeah, but so we have this, in material world, we have this time factor. But in spiritual world, of course, we have time factor, but it does not have the deteriorating effect. It's eternal. The spiritual nature is eternal, sanatana. How is it possible? A cloud may pass over the sky and it may appear to cover a great distance, but actually it's only a small speck covering an insignificant spark of the part of the whole sky. But we are so small. If only a few hundred miles is covered by cloud, it appears that the whole sky is covered. Similarly, this whole material universe is like a small, insignificant cloud in the vast spiritual sky. It is encased by the Mahatattva matter. And so Prabhupada is telling us, when we see, the sky, there's clouds are there. So the clouds are there, and so we are thinking the cloud has covered the whole sky, that we can see only the cloud now. We are not able to see the sky, but the sky is there. The cloud is just covering our vision of the sky. That's it. And when the clouds go away, we can see the sky also. So then, this material world, entire material world, this Mahatattva is like a cloud on the Brahma Jyoti. It's there. It's there in this. It's just one tiny portion of the Brahma Jyoti, the spiritual sky that gets covered by this cloud of Mahatattva. As a cloud has a beginning and an end, this material nature also has a beginning and an end. When the clouds disappear, the sky clears, we see everything as it is. Similarly, the body is like a cloud passing over the spirit soul. It stays for some time, gives some byproducts, dwindles, and then vanishes. Any kind of material phenomenon that we observe is subject to these transformations of material nature. So, material nature has 6 transformations. it comes into being. So it comes into being, then it grows, stays for a while, produces some byproducts, dwindles, and vanishes. Like the baby is there, then the baby grows, then it becomes young. After that, the baby will have his own children, now become a man, has some children, then becomes an older man, and then no more. Body dies. Krishna indicates that beyond this changing cloud-like nature, there is a spiritual nature which is eternal. In addition, when this material nature is annihilated, that avyakta sanatana will remain. So the spiritual nature is eternal nature, is never annihilated. The spirit soul, we are the spirit soul, we are eternal, we are never annihilated. It's this material body which is like the cloud. It's covering us, covering our true identity.
So Tattva also, like it manifests, it appears, and then it annihilates.
What is that? I'm sorry.
Mahatattva.
Mahatattva?
It
Yeah,
appears and then it annihilates, right?
yeah, but the elements are eternal. Material nature, the elements are there always. Sometimes it is manifest, sometimes not manifest. That's the only thing. Because Krishna, this material nature is also his nature, no?
Yeah.
So she is eternal. As you rightly said, sometimes it's manifest, sometimes not manifest. That's it.
So that means the Mahatattva is always there, the material world. It's only the entities, they that go, right? In the body of the Krishna at the end of Brahma's one day.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
So the Mahatattva is there because that in there all the elements are there always.
It's there, no? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll stop here for today.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening and joining it. Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.